Good morning, everybody. My name's Dave Wheelock. I am the owner and manager of Knowledge Tools, LLC in Newport Beach, California. And I'm really happy that you've joined us this morning for a live presentation of a really powerful mathematics diagnostic tool for your students, for you and your students, I should say. And this tool is now available as of the beginning of this year to schools across the U.S. It is a tool that's been in place for 4 years, as we'll come to learn. And I'm really happy and proud to have with me today Ann Trescott. Ann is the Outreach and Support Coordinator for the Mathematics Diagnostic Testing Project out of UC San Diego. Just to let you know before I pass this over to Ann, the presentation today will be approximately 20 minutes, give or take, and we'll leave some room at the end for questions. So if you have any, please go ahead and type questions into the comment section, and we'll do our best to get to those as we can. So without any further ado, I will hand things over to Ann.
Thanks, Dave. Welcome, everyone. I'm really glad to be here with you today, and I appreciate Dave letting me come and share a bit of my background, understanding, and usage of this powerful tool. I've been using this tool for, since 2004, I believe was when I first started using the tool. And when the tool went online in 2009, wow, I really started to see the power of the tool. And so that sort of changed everything for me, my direction of my teaching and my students' learning. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you this tool, this powerful diagnostic tool that really changed the way I do business in my classroom, and also why I am passionate about it and want to share it with you. To start with, I just want to see if you have any of common experiences with me. So I call this Have You Ever? So I'll start with this particular piece of mathematics. So you can see this is subtraction of a rational expression, and you know, we teach this in a high school mathematics class. Sometimes in 8th grade if you're pushing high school mathematics down to 8th grade, but I found when I was going to teach this and planning to teach this, I was like, well, where are all the places my students might go wrong? And so have you ever needed to teach a concept, something similar to this, and found that your students were unprepared and you had a fantastic lesson and you're like, this is going to work, I know, I love this, and you're like, uh-oh, actually from the very beginning my students weren't prepared for this. But I wasn't exactly sure, and maybe you have that experience where they went wrong. What do they not know? And as you know, looking at this mathematics, we see that this is simply subtracting fractions, but in the rational expression world. And so is it fractions that they are not understanding? Maybe it has something to do with their integer arithmetic. And by using the tool that I'm going to show you, I was able to, when I was planning for a lesson like this, I did this many times, I was able to use the math diagnostic testing tool software that I'm going to show you in order to drill in and find out exactly where my students, what they know and what they don't know, so that I can really plan my lesson using that data. So really a data-informed practice. I'm going to use the acronym MDTP. You'll hear me saying that quite a bit. And that's because that is the acronym for the Math Diagnostic Testing Project. So have you ever had that experience where your students were unprepared for mathematics that you were about to teach, or you found out as you were teaching? Here's another one I want to ask you about. So this inequality, solving an inequality. And I remember giving this problem and asking my students, could 4 be a solution to this problem? And I remember students saying to me, maybe, maybe not, I don't know. I'm like, okay, well, where do I go? How do I know if they're just being a smart aleck to me, or if there is an actual mathematical piece that they're missing and not understanding? Does it have to do with the precursor to this, which is solving a 2-step equation? Is it that? Does it have something to do with their integer arithmetic? If I throw fractions in here, is it going to be something along that line? And so I really needed to better understand my students' abilities. What are their strengths and where are the areas that they struggle with? And again, by using this tool, I was able to do that. The last have you ever I want to ask you has to do with, have you ever been frustrated? And if you say no, then there's something wrong, because we've all been frustrated on our students' skills when they come into our classroom or when they come into a particular unit. And you're like, wait, what? I know you learned that last year. I talked to my colleague who taught you the year before, and I know that was in the curriculum, and we're all aligned to the standard, so I know you've seen this, but the students either didn't retain it or have a misunderstanding or misconception about a piece of mathematics. And I know, and I'm sure you're with me on this one, how frustrating that can be. And you seem to spend a lot of time remediating and going backwards before you can even go forwards. And I put to you, as frustrating as it is for you as an educator, I believe, and I have seen, that it's even more frustrating for our students. So it's time for us to really decide to do something more purposeful, more data informed or student evidence informed, in order to truly meet the needs of our students, so that not only are we filling gaps that they might have, but we're moving them forward so they in fact are next course ready. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about how this tool really has changed my teaching and my students' learning. And these are only a sampling of how I've used this tool and how I talk about it statewide. I'm in California, so I talk about it statewide to the math educators that I work with at the school site level, at the county level, at the district level. And there are many other ways to use this tool, and I'm sure once you get on board and you see the power of this tool, whoa, you're going to come up with even more ideas and things that you use this tool for as well. But just to give you kind of a background, so that I use it as a diagnostic to analyze and target planning before I build a lesson. So I can drill into students' strengths by skill and content, and I can address misconceptions, either putting it purposely into my unit planning or before I start my unit of instruction. Also, we've used it diagnostically for specific student interventions. And during those interventions, we might have a zero period or some other type of in-school intervention. We also have used it very much for summer programs to really help us understand where are student strengths, where do they struggle, and what are we going to do in response to that, and really start filling those gaps and getting our students ready for the next course. And then the last is a targeted planning for a math department, understanding the strengths within the math department in terms of mathematics and the areas of growth. By doing this and doing this type of analyses, we actually can say, all right, maybe it's within our Algebra 2 course. We see within Algebra 2, the function strand seemed to be an area of concern. Also, the way these diagnostic tests are created, they're created across important mathematics along the progression of learning mathematics. We actually do a backward planning when we create these tests. We start with, what does college readiness look like and mean, and what are the important aspects of mathematics there, and then we work backwards in 12th grade, 11th, 10th, and so on, all the way down to students entering middle school. And we look at those and we say, okay, based on these, what are the big pieces, the big chunks of mathematics we know our students need to be tight in so that they can be successful in the next course. So it makes sense to do this departmentally, because we can see if we have strands and fractions, for example, in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and we're looking at it departmentally around a school, we can say, wow, within this area of fractions, conceptual understanding of fraction seems to be an area of growth for us. What are we purposely going to do in order to take care of that and really change potentially our teaching and our instruction in order to meet our students' needs around, for example, conceptual understanding of fractions? So a little bit of background on knowledge tools. So the Math Diagnostic Testing Project was first established in California in 1977. It became part of the state legislature in 1984. It's jointly formed by the California State University System and the University of California. The purpose, the reason they started this whole gig, was to promote and support student readiness and success in college mathematics courses. Really important. We were no longer okay with saying, oh, well, they're not ready. And we know there's equity issues when you do that. So that was part of the impetus of this program. The tests are developed by what's called the MDTP work group, and that's made up of faculty from the CSU, UC community colleges, as well as secondary schools. We have middle school teachers, that would be me, that was my role in the work group, and high school teachers. And we talk about what is the important mathematics. We look at our framework, we look at the progression of learning, we look at what the expectations are, and we purposely develop tests and items along those lines. Each and every single math problem that's on every one of our tests and every answer option are designed to capture common misconceptions that students make, both procedural and conceptual. That's very important because we don't know how to intervene and what to intervene with if we don't have a foundation for that. We want to both capture procedural and conceptual. Now, these tests are multiple choice. And people say, well, how do you capture conceptual understanding with a multiple choice test? I could see you guys could do procedural. Well, what you need to understand is the background of the folks who develop these tests. We very much know what that looks like and needs to be. And we have been able to, and there's been research done on these tests, we have been able to actually capture both the procedural and the conceptual misunderstandings students tend to have in these areas. All right, now, desktop services. So coming to you, Knowledge Tool comes through Desktop Services, which has 20 years of application development. Extensive skills in small and mid-sized business and higher ed spaces. MDTP hired them in 2016 to develop an updated paper scoring system and a new online testing platform. This was very, very important for us because we needed a platform that really better met the needs of, not district folks, teachers. This program is developed for teacher friendly. I love it. Even I can do it. It's not a big deal. I can negotiate and navigate within the system, and it's very, very easy. Once teachers see a video or just have a little conversation about how to get on this tool, they know how to use it, and they become pros very, very quickly. And Desktop Services was able to do that for us. So we've had 2 versions so far. The first version went live in January 2017, and boy, did it take off. You can see the numbers right here. Already 400,000 tests were taken, and all those questions are answered to date, and that just keeps rising. Every day we have many, many more teachers and students on the platform and taking these very powerful tests. Then we went into a partnership. Knowledge Tools partnered with UC San Diego, and that partnership was formed in October 2017. We began offering tests to 49 states and U.S. territories in the beginning of this year. And this new version 2 that I'm going to show you, I'm going to demonstrate for you, was formed. And it's just so exciting. I'm so excited to be able to be here today to show you this diagnostic tool. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to that to this quick demonstration for you. Please feel free to ask any questions along the way, and Dave is over here monitoring, and we'll get to those questions at the end. So I'm going to go down here now. I'm going to see if I can do this. Okay, pretend I know what I'm doing here. There we go. All right. So what you're seeing right here now is the online platform. And I am showing you just a sample right now. It's a demonstration class of Sherry Samuel at Southern Sample High School. Very creative name there. And you can see on this that you see the list of Sherry's classes, her current classes here. Algebra 1, Period 1, Algebra 2, Period 2, and Algebra 2, Period 4. And again, like I said before, it's very easy to negotiate and navigate in this system and set up classes, set up students, upload rosters, and all of that. But we're not going to get into that today. I just want to kind of give you a demonstration of the power of the analysis part of this, what you can do with this. And I tell people that I work with across the state of California, don't use this tool. Please don't use this tool. Don't ever use this tool unless you are committed to actually closing mathematical gaps and remedying misconceptions of students. Otherwise, it's a waste of your teaching instructional time. It's a waste of your students' time. So the data analysis part of this, and what now? What do you do with that? That's the important piece, and that's what I want to focus on here today. As you can see at the bottom of this screen, we have these active tests. So these are tests that students can come into still and take those tests within the classroom setting. We do not want these tests to be taken at home. This is all to be done within an educational setting. And so you can kind of see that below. So what I'm going to show you first, I'm going to go into my Sherry, or pretend Sherry is me. We'll go into my 4th period class. So you click over here and the drop-down menu appears and we click View. Going into my 4th period class then, you're going to see that I have 2 active tests. Notice one test was administered in August 14th, and the other test was administered in December. Now you might say, wait a second, Ann, I see these are the exact same test. This is a mathematical analysis readiness test. In fact, that's true. And mathematical analysis is a pre-calculus test, right? And this is an Algebra 2 course. Why would I give 2 of the exact same test? Well, that's because these are diagnostic. So I gave a test in August and I said, okay, I know my students' strengths. I've got the areas where I need to really focus on and remedy misconceptions and really purposely plan around what my students don't know yet so that I can better teach them, so they can better make connections to what I'm teaching them this year. And so I do that. I've got that piece of information at the start of my school year. Then I work very hard to do that along with my regular instruction. I don't stop instruction. I have standards and I have things that I have to teach. So I infuse that into my teaching and my students' learning. Then I say, all right, how did I do? Was I able to actually make progress? Was I able to close those gaps and remedy those misconceptions? So I give the exact same test. And we've done research to show that it's okay to give the exact same test as long as you don't give them too close together. Students actually don't remember those tests. And then I always say, well, unless you have a Sheldon Cooper in your class, and then you might, they might remember those items, but typically they do not remember those items. And so you look at that and you do your comparative analysis. You can look for growth. You can look where, okay, now I see we've closed these gaps, but now I need to kind of drill into this other piece. And so what I want to do then is I can look at a single set of data. I'm just going to show you that. I can drop down here and I can go to report, and now I'm into the reporting system. What's very, very cool about this system is there's no wait time between when students took the test and when you can actually see the results. You can see it immediately. Matter of fact, you can see it as students are taking the test. That's how powerful the system is. Unlike some of our state mandated tests where it takes weeks or months to actually see the results, you're seeing this results immediately. Makes sense because you're using this as a formative assessment in real time as you're going through your teaching. So you can look at a single set of data, but what I really want to show you today is I want to show you that you can look at comparative data. So notice that I am clicking on both of these tests because I want to view them as a comparison. So now I'm going into the reports section. And here's my reports section of the test. And so what you're seeing here is just, the identifying information. It says, okay, here on the left, you can see here's the first test that I'm comparing. The average score for this test was 76.77%. And then when I gave it the next time, in December, I see that the average score is 79.8%. So I can see that. So I already can tell just by looking at percent correct, there's growth. But the percent correct score for me is really not that interesting. It doesn't give me enough information to know, okay, which areas did my students actually grow in? What do they now know that they didn't know before, right? And so that's my first piece of information. I'm going to show you the next piece and how powerful this can be. What you're seeing down here, this graphic, is you're seeing all of these kind of funky looking acronyms. In these acronyms, they're explained over here. So for example, EXLR is exponents and radicals and logarithms. So we see that there. You can see it's already starting to drill in. And then you see the bars from the pre and the post, and you can see that they're color coded. The dark one is the latter test, okay? And so I can see that, so I can start seeing that sort of comparison. I can see growth within those topics. Each of the MDTP tests are set up by a series of topics, again, as I mentioned before, of important mathematics. Looking over here then to the right side of the screen, you can see all the topics listed. You can see how many items are in each topic, and then you can see what we call the critical level. MDTP has set critical levels for every topic and every test, okay? And the critical level, what that really is what we call an indicator for students being adequately prepared in that topic for mathematics they need to learn that year or for the next year. For example, If I have students who have met critical level in their functions and their graphs, and the student met that critical level, so they got 6, 7, or 8 correct, because there's 8 items in here, then that student is ready to learn whatever we need to teach them in the next course up. This is a pre-calculus test that we're looking at, so that would be within pre-calculus, okay? And I can see the number of students out of my total student body, and the number of students that were able to do that was 15 out of 16. Now, since I'm doing a comparison, you're seeing this percent difference. There was a percent difference or a percent growth of 5% within that functions topic. If you look at a single set of data, you're not going to see that percent difference. You're just going to see the number of students that met critical level, and I believe it also will tell you a percentage that met that critical level, okay? So you're going to see that. Now, what I want to do is really get into the data so you can see that. So I'm going to go and just start drilling in, because I really want you to see the power of this tool. So I'm going to click on this bar. And what you see then is the spread of data across all of the topics within this, all of the items within this topic. And you see item 34, item 36, and so on. Let's go ahead and look at the first item, which is item 1. Clicking on item 1 then, and I drill down, I can actually see that item. And again, you can see these results immediately. And what I'm looking at here then is, first of all, the correct answer is designated here in green, and I can see 84% of my students answered it correctly. I can also see, please keep in mind that this is a training set of data, so your spread of data will probably look a little bit different than this. You can also see that I had a pretty strong common draw to answer choice A. 16% of my students answered answer choice A. Watch what happened. I just hovered on this, clicked on it, and look what happened. I see my list of students who answered in that incorrect fashion. Notice there are a couple duplicate names, and that's because, remember, we're doing a comparison, so there's 2 sets of data here. So if the name appears twice, then that student answered in that same way both times. But I want to show you that not only can I see the list of students that answered in this way, and I'm saying, okay, I see what's incorrect here, obviously, is the slope, right, the 1/3. When I see that and I'm looking at this, I'm like, all right, well, how did my student do on other aspects of this test as well within this particular area? I can actually click on the student name right here. There's other places to get to this, and there's a bar across the top that I'll briefly show you. But if I click on the student name, now I'm driving deeply into how the student did and their diagnostic data. I see that this particular student was 44% overall correct. I can see the timing, that the timing is captured for each of the students as well as for the groups of students. And the timing bars, the height of the bar is the time spent per item, and it's color-coded by correct, incorrect, or omitted. And then it gives you your diagnostic for the student, and you can see here's the categories. Your results indicate you need review in the following topics, so you can actually tell which topics students were successful in and which topics students have as an area of growth. And then the actual student answers are color-coded as well. Now, everything in here is clickable and drillable. That's how we use, that's kind of the terminology that we use. And if you look, see these bars right here, I actually can say, okay, I see that they spent some time on item 1, but it was incorrect. If I click on item 1, and that was one we were just on, it goes particularly to that item. Also, these 82% of my students that answered it correctly, you can see the list of those students, and you can drill in there as well. So I wanted to do a quick deep dive into that so you can kind of see what that looks like. I also just want to show you across the top, here's a topic summary, length of the bars, the percent correct per item. Again, every single one of these are clickable and drillable. You've got an item analysis tab here as well that gives you every single item, the average time spent, the percent correct, and right here you can see the spread of data. And that's what you really want to look for in your analysis, in your diagnosis. Was there a common an answer choice that drew a lot of my students? You might have a common misconception. Those are dangerous, and you want to remedy as quickly as you can. And then you can also see the percentage by item. And of course, all of these categories are sortable by increasing or decreasing order. You've got that average timing bar, your height of the bar again. Now this is the average timing for the entire class. All of those are drillable. Then very powerful as well, especially when you're looking at interventions, is the student results page. And all of this also is sortable. we have these exports in the data to Excel documents. In the different Excels, again, very powerful. I just want to show you this one so you can kind of see what this looks like. This is an individual detail report. And the great thing about these reports is they can be uploaded into any of your data systems that you have at your school or your district. And if you look here, again, I'm doing comparison. Here's what happened on the August 14th testing, and it's color-coded. Here's your answer question starting in column R. Color-coded, blue for correct and green for, the green over here are the topics, and if they were successful on that topic or not. And then you've got the second test, which is the December testing, same idea, and then you also have the comparison. Again, just extremely powerful piece of information. When I use this, I just want to tell you that, and just to finish up here, when I use this system, and I started sharing it with the math department, I was the department chair at the time, we went crazy on this. We were so excited that we could actually target by skill and content student strengths and areas that we really needed to focus in. When we did that, we really saw a change in not only our students learning, but our teaching. We said, gosh, they're really not getting some of these conceptual items. And how are we going to shift our instruction to better get to the conceptual part within the skills and concepts that are being diagnosed in MDTP? So I kind of want to leave you with that. I think I'm going to turn this back over to Dave now and see if we had any questions that came in as I was chatting away, and hopefully I didn't talk too quickly so that you understood what I was saying. I look forward to hearing from you.
Hi, thanks. And that was really a great presentation. Thanks so much, Ann. I know we covered a lot of ground. And just to let everybody know that since we did move at a fairly fast pace, this video will be posted on the Knowledge Tools Facebook page, so you can always go back and rewatch. And by all means, share it with your colleagues. If this looks like something that looks very interesting for your school or for your district, by all means, share it with people amongst your school, within your district. At this point, it looks like we're good for questions and comments. I appreciate some of the nice comments that we got. Thank you very much. The other thing that you can do is visit our websites. For MDTP, it is mdtp.ucsd.edu. And for Knowledge Tools, it is knowledge-tools.com. You'll find all our pricing information, all the different tests that we offer, and there's always a live chat available for you if you want to pose any questions during the day. We're always there to help. So thanks very much for joining us today. And Ann, you had one more thing.
I do have one more thing to say, just to finish off. Thank you, Dave. So one of the things that I like to talk about and say is that, the idea of fraction preparedness, I'm just going to talk fraction for a second. The idea of fraction preparedness has always been an issue. And if you look at any of the national data, look at the NAEP data, you'll see that fractions are an area of growth for us in the United States, and particularly for us in California, it definitely is. And I hear educators say, well, it's too big of an issue to tackle, and we don't teach it anyways in high school, and that's something middle school and elementary need to talk about. But actually, I want to say, let's stop the blame game, and stop the cycle of next course non-preparedness and the further decline. You have a very powerful tool right here that we just showed you, and I really hope you go on and take up Dave's offer and play with it and experience it, because using this tool, you actually can diagnose, intervene, and prepare your students to really learn the mathematics in the level that I know that you want your students to learn, and be prepared for college and open up those doors. Make it so that it is a gateway and not a gatekeeper. Mathematics should not keep students from meeting their dreams. Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure.
We do have a question. It just came in from Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. The question is, will this apply to standards in Texas? And we didn't really touch upon standards at this point. Do you want to go ahead and
So, sure,
Okay.
Rebecca. Thank you so much for that question. That's actually a really great question. So the testing, the MDTP tests right now are aligned to California standards, okay? The California content standards. And so what we tell folks who are using this nationally to do is to look at the items. Look at the items and decide which items do in fact align to the standards within your state. And when you do your analysis, if it doesn't align, just ignore that particular item and that piece of analysis. Now, you'll probably be able to capture some information anyway in the mathematics that you learn from that, but in terms of actual alignment, where you're going to see a document that has a one-to-one alignment of an item to a Texas standard or another state standard, you're actually not going to see that right now. You could always do that work, Rebecca. You could decide to do that alignment if you wanted to.
Great. And I think that's it. Again, thank you very much for joining us. And again, share the video. Thanks again, and we will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.